Hey everybody, it's Smith and Jeff Nichols here with Tactical Fitness Report, and this one is a quick and down and dirty. Jeff and I were getting a few emails, and I would say a very common question these days has been, how do I start off doing X, right? Like if I'm going to start off a running program, if I'm going to start lifting after, a calisthenics cycle, or, I need to get my PST scores better. How do I start with that process? So, you know what, Jeff, if you have the email that you just read to me before we started, let's start off there and we'll just kind of frame it around, some
I kind of feel like this works. This works for everyone. This is because it's choose your own adventure. And I always say, if you start with your weakness, you won't have any by the time you run through your training cycle. And this goes right along with when Stu and I continue to say, give yourself plenty of time. Don't go see the recruiter until you're ready. Ready being exceeding the standard of the PST. So we get this hypothetical person that basically gives us the rundown of what their PST scores are. Doesn't matter what they are, if they're active duty or not, and say, what should I do? And I always say, choose your weakness, because then you won't have any. So a lot of times it's the run and the swim. And so where does a person start? And a lot, we both have programs to offer, but even within those programs, sometimes, especially on the sprinting side, it can be a little bit too much, which is also why I don't want to say start with a bunch of distance either as far as volume. So this is really where you guys, I think is very difficult on this electronic media, whether it's text message, whatever it is, and say, this is where you should start, because we haven't done an evaluation.
And it's not personalized, right? These programs are not personalized. Yeah.
And admittedly, Stu and I both are going to say that's the biggest downfall of us giving you guys programs online is it's the best we can do, not even knowing anything about all of you, all these people, all these things, but it's a good starting point. That's what you're missing at a starting point. Sometimes the starting point is just I put my shoes on, I went out the door and I ran for 2 miles. Well, now the starting point kind of begins how did it feel?
Yeah.
It felt like crap. Well, now you need to,
Yeah, if you had to walk or your shins hurt.
Yeah.
Other pains coming up. Yeah.
Let's say that first mile and a half, and I'm even trying to because I know the mile and a half is the test. That's not what we're talking about. We're saying, hey, you lace up your shoes, you go out the door, you go for a run, be very aware of what's going on. Oh my God, I really hit the wall hard at 6-7 minutes and I wasn't running that hard. And I did okay. I was able to run 2 miles, but I was so tired after it. My legs were dead sore the day after. Okay. Right. Those are indicators. And Stu, what for you, how do you get somebody to start other than just say, just go for a short run, see how you feel?
You know what? Here's a little pre-assessment you can do yourself, and take the last month of what you've been doing. Take an average of your weekly mileage that you've done, right? So if you've run twice in the last month and you've accumulated a total of 3 miles in 4 weeks, you are at a beginner level. Right now, if you're running 2 or 3 times a week, you're getting 8 to 10 miles a week, and you can put that into a month block. So you say, in a month you've run, 40 miles. So you're averaging 10 miles a week. You're at a different starting point than the guy before.
Yeah.
Right? So it's a little bit of common sense in that sense. So what I would have to do is say, well, let's push you into this intermediate zone where, if you're going to run, try to run the same amount, but let's bump it up a notch to maybe 10 or 15% more. Time or distance, one or the other, right? And if you're only running distance, let's every other day add in, some speed work. Or maybe if you're not ready to do sprints yet, maybe some goal pace work. So if you're right now running comfortably an 8-minute mile, let's try to play around with a 7-minute mile pace, running quarters at 1:45, running halves at, 3:30, right? And just start learning how to run faster by actually practicing that faster.
Couldn't be said better, folks, because two things was said. One of the two things. First one is maintain a known distance throughout for a while. What I would say is start your first week by running 5 miles. The second week the same, and the third week the same. And this is what you're going to change, as Stu's already said it, is, well, that first week may look just like some pacing, like, oh, I'm going to try to get to 5 miles. Well, the next week, mix it up. Do some sprint work. Not long, again, because we're still sticking to 5 miles for the total week. Just group it differently, right? 1 week is a little bit more elongated running, right? And the next week might be, 2s and 3s and 400s to make up that 5 miles. The next week might be half interval stuff, like short stuff, 100 meters, and then you do some long stuff. Find out which one allows you, and Stu said it right at the end, to run at a higher velocity over the distance of each one of those training sessions. That's the goal, right? Because that's why he's saying, hey, look at your pace. Drop that pace down a little bit, but don't elongate the distance more than 10 to 15%. Because if you elongate that distance or that volume or those repetitious sprints too much, you're teaching yourself to what you're not doing is you're not teaching yourself to buffer hydrogen to a point where it goes, hey guys, we need to get in better shape, acclimate. And then if you do it systematically week by week, rather than just starting off with too much sprint work or too much distance, the body goes, okay guys, you got to feed the machine and heal itself. Otherwise the body goes, we're not ready for that.
Yeah. You know what? I've had emails very similar to yours where, guys said, hey, I've worked myself up to 30 miles a week of running. I said, okay, that's a lot of volume. That's good. But he says, I still can't break a 10-30 mile and a half. And I said, well, first of all, let's cut your mileage in half right now. And let's start working on speed work, right? And really start learning how to run faster. Yep. Right. I like to do it two ways. I like to have a sprint day where I'm putting out, Jeff likes 300s. I like 400s, whatever floats your boat. Right. If you can do 300s or 400s, sprint days. I mean, push it hard. We have this one workout where we'll do a 2-minute quarter, then a 150 quarter, a 140 quarter, 130 quarter, try to get down to 120, 110. See if anybody can hit 60, which typically nobody hits 60 in our group. Every now and then we'll get a guy, and then we try to do it in reverse. I mean, that's a way to kind of warm up. Last thing you want to do when you're starting a sprint is just start sprinting. You got to warm up, get your body used to it. And then another day, instead of doing sprints like that, we'll just do goal pace work. The other day we did 8 quarter miles at whatever goal pace that was. If you were running a 10-30 mile and a half, but you wanted to get closer to sub 10, we got it. Every one of those sets had to be under 140, but not faster than 130. Because that's where people screw up, that you got to think strategically. And
come out of the gate too fast, you pay for it on the back end.
Absolutely. And you'll just get crushed. And
whatever.
Everybody, I'm sorry, Jeff, everybody that when we did this lap workout, this quarter mile lap, everybody to the person hit that first lap. We were shooting for between 130 and 140. Everybody hit 120, and I said, pull back. I had to pull back the reins and give this like little 5-minute speech and here's why you have to do this, right? Because you're going to waste it. You waste all your glycogen in that first quarter, and then you're just going to get slower and slower and slower.
Playing catch up the whole time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And I think that it's very difficult for people to realize that running now, again, things start changing when you start running races up to like 13 miles, stuff like that, like half marathons. But we're talking about running here, but this goes into swimming. This goes into improving your pull-ups. This goes into improving your push-ups. You have to create incremental changes that your body can then adapt to. Because it's like this, like, wait a minute, but even someone that's kind of out of shape, if they've got the fortitude, they can go out of their door and put in 15 miles in a day. But that doesn't mean but if you chop that 15 miles up into any segment that's equivalent, right? Maybe you drop them up to 15 mile increments. You take the average velocity or time of those splits, right? You're going to see a degradation. you're going to see it drop off for most people, unless you're a world-class marathoner. So that's the indicator that that distance isn't the only metrics we're looking at. We got to look at pace. Running right now without managing your paces of a great distance or of even a short distance, you can't, it makes it impossible for Stu and I to go, this is how we intervene in this run. Because if you did let's say you ran out, you're a beginner runner, but you're in good shape. You go do a 3 mile, you keep all your splits every 800 meters. If you were to plot those splits on a chart, you're going to see it go.
Yeah.
The faster you come out of the gate, the faster to fall. Now, if you came out really, really slow and started taking you might actually drop your time for quite a while.
Oh, absolutely.
Come out nice and easy. And so we'd be better off if you came to us and go, hey guys, here's my 3 mile split. I try to keep my heart rate at 85%. And then you would see very easy, like, oh my God, that's the point right there at the 1.86 mile mark is where my body no longer likes to buffer. Now we know what to train up to, because we need to elongate that 1.86 to 2 and
Yep.
to 2.1, right? We don't start off at 4 miles and go, I wonder why I can't run fast. Because if you were to chart it and look back and go, because you started pooping out at 1.63 miles.
Yeah.
So pay attention to what you guys are doing. And it's not about just running distance and time. Pay attention to what happens before distance and time throughout.
I love it. Yeah, great. And we do the same thing with swimming too. Instead of a 500-yard swim, what I do is I measure 10 50s. So I get their split times on every 50 yards, and I can see where they're losing their pace, where they're starting to add strokes, and they're losing their efficiency. Because that's typically what happens. You might start off with 6 strokes per length, in 50-second 50s. And then next thing you know, you're at 8 or 9. Yeah, you're 8 or 9, 10 strokes per length, and you're swimming over a minute per lap now. That happens. That's just a conditioning issue that is easily answered with these type of workouts that we create. So
because these interval, listen, last thing, because guys, we're saying intervals, and they don't even need to be small intervals. Intervals just means chop them up into equal-ish type parts. When you do interval type training, you can see within a single interval, maybe 2, because you're not quite sure, but within a very simple plotted paragraph, plotted chart, you know exactly where you're hitting your wall.
Yep.
That's now your new training wall. We don't want to keep jumping past that wall. Go, let's get to there. Let's take that 1.5 miles and make it faster. How do we do it? Well, by doing that, all of a sudden you've pushed that wall out to 2 miles and 3 and 5.
There you go. Yep, exactly.
But if you can constantly try to train on one side of the wall and don't take care of the beginning, what ends up happening is that training wall, actually, you start overtraining. And that buffering gets worse and worse and worse. It doesn't actually get a whole lot better to a certain point.
Right. Yeah, that's a really good point there. All right, so I think we kind of nailed this one.
Yeah.
And if you have more questions, just send them in the video comment section. Also, look in the description, because Jeff and I and Mitch Aguilar are putting on a program here. Jeff, you got more info on it?
So some highlighting info, August 27th and 28th here in, I say Virginia Beach, but the hotel actually that we blocked is in Chesapeake. There's 2 hotels we blocked in a conference room. In real brief summary, the sale will be available on Mitch Aguilar's Smashing Frog website, and we're going to cap it at 40, and it's going to be a 2-day event covering, right, dietetics with a dietitian, not our advice.
Yes.
Right? We're going to cover PST specific prep, like how to handle a heart rate monitor. All these are very, very useful, like what we're talking about, how we're really going to get in the weeds and make it interactive for so many people to go, how do I prepare, best prepare, better prepare for military, law enforcement, fire selection, right? And then they're going to keep following. Like, it's going to be a 2-day event. I'm just going to give you a ton of information, and that's it. Like,
August 27th.
Our Instagrams.
Yeah, we'll be posting it about
over the next couple of days, because we're going to start really pushing out the information.
Yep, we'll put out some videos too. Maybe we'll get Mitch on here and we'll do a.
For sure. Well, especially when you come in next week.
Yep, absolutely.
Set something up for sure.
All right. All right, guys.
I appreciate it.
Thanks for the questions, and keep asking them. We'll get to them. We'll see you, Jeff.
Later.